Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me again today. Today I'm going to talk about Jesus and how I know him and experience his ministry. I'll be reading from my phone notes again. And here we go. His name and memory have been used and sometimes abused for so many centuries, and yet he remains possibly one of the most impactful or controversial individuals in recent history. For some, he is forever tied to the Christian religion and their view of him. To others like myself, I see him as a glorious being whose teaching has long been usurped and a religion built around him. Very similar to what the people have done to the person and teaching of every great master in ages past. If you are an orthodox-based individual, I ask you to listen with an open heart. None of this is an attempt at controversy. Now, I will make every attempt to maintain composure, but every time I try and speak about him, I get just absolutely flooded with love and gratitude. So just bear with my tears if they pour. They are tears of amazing goodness. I have read this over about 6 times now and try and temper its effects on me. You know, the records of all that has transpired on the planet throughout the ages are written here in the atmosphere forever. They are accessible as you are deemed worthy and capable of responsibly handling the truth. It's a vibration thing, mathematical lock per se. All true knowledge is the same, opened to us as we make ourselves responsible stewards again. I won't say here that I have any kind of full access. That would be a lie. I am not there yet, but feel closer throughout the years. I have seen things, though, and most certainly I have felt them. You can too. You probably have. For me, it's often in the early hours of the morning. I am awakened by a marvelous thought, a minor revelation of sorts. It can do with understanding myself, understanding one's behavior even further, or tidbits of history pop up, coupled with feeling of immense love and respect. Sometimes it feels like a teacher implanting homework in my mind and heart for me to work on. One time, while in the presence of my benefactor, I was so still for hours. Most days were like this, actually. Just following the breath and maintaining perfect attention on the present moment, following it as deep as possible. Only thoughts of the highest accord could ripple my pond. All of a sudden, a breakthrough occurs. I behold a stream of faces and places starting from my birth. One frame after another goes by, each revealing a moment another person expressed love that affected me, that reached me. Most of these people I did not know, maybe strangers, short acquaintances, some old friends. What struck me the most were the strangers. A brief moment of their love had touched my soul's progress, whether I knew it or not. It all helped me grow. Nothing was wasted. The pure joy that coupled that experience revealed to me was indescribable. Now imagine what the outpouring of love from those far on the path can do. Imagine what one as disciplined as Jesus could do what he did do. Before we dive into this, I want to say one thing. There is a reason why Jesus left no written statements or writings himself. Think deeply on this. Nor did he create any kind of ceremony, church, or representatives that should be followed. It wasn't that he didn't consider it or was too busy. He knew exactly what would happen to written works from masters. It always does. It has for thousands of years. Mankind, in their lesser state of awakening, change words and meanings and translations to either fit their current understanding or purposely alter the teaching so they can remain in a place of power. Consider the fact that differences in religion or ideology have been the root of almost every global conflict. Can you imagine Jesus wanting a single person injured if they didn't believe what he was teaching? In my experience, religion and priests have been a distraction at best and a crime against the people in the worst cases. Jesus taught about direct connection to Source without the need of any intermediary. Teachers of great standing are perfect and necessary, but the real ones never act as an intermediary to one's own source. Remember that. This is the main reason the priests of his time wanted him gone. Power struggles over control of the people can have murderous consequences. Let's look now at Jesus' progression as we can understand it. He was in his early teens when he was confronting the priests at the time about all kinds of falsehood and discrepancies in their teachings. Then at 14-ish, he heads east into the Orient, and what seems to have occurred is he spent somewhere between 15 to 17 years studying with those even greater than himself. Then he returns to the area of his birth to begin his ministry at 30 or so. Life always provides teachers greater than ourselves when we require and want them. I want to point out something that is not common knowledge. Jesus actually attained the right to graduate from this classroom and in the previous embodiment. Let me say that again. Jesus actually attained the right to graduate from this classroom in his previous embodiment. He made a decision to come back for a final great service of his own free will. Because only children who have not graduated can render certain assistances of such magnitude. Once you accept graduation and eternal perfection, it has to be more hands-off. Universal laws designed in this way. Mathematics are again a factor. We can have masters just we can't have masters just waving their wands, freeing all the sleepers from their lessons of cause and effect. That would not serve the purpose of a soul's progression. It would go against the law of free will. So Jesus returns to his place of birth to start his great service. After almost 2 decades of inner work, he is now about as fully realized as is possible while yet unascended. The mystic John the Baptist, having attained a certain degree of awakening himself, has foretold to the people in the area of a great person's coming, a fulfilling of prophecy. Jesus gathers certain life streams unto himself, who have also earned the right from previous embodiments to be a close confidant and receive untold blessings. We know of certain happenings during this time, like the healings, the raising of Lazarus, confronting the priests about their teachings and traditions, the famous Sermon on the Mount, changing water into wine, and many others. All of these are examples of what a person all of these are examples of what a person of very high vibratory attainment can do. And all of this eventually angers the priest to such a degree that they convince the Roman governor to put Jesus on trial. The priests are cunning enough to realize that they can't have the people turn on them for directly seizing Jesus themselves. So a sham trial proceeds. Jesus is questioned, tortured, made to confess, all the while maintaining the utmost grace, humility, and perfect inner discipline, never once even wishing harm upon his captors. In fact, I am quite certain he felt a deep compassion for these brethren, for they really knew not what they do. And then, as we know, he was convicted and sentenced to death. He was forced to drag a wooden cross through the streets while wearing a crown of thorns, bleeding, to show all he was just a normal person, in an attempt to humiliate him and discredit his teachings in front of all the people. And once on the hill of his execution, he was purposely positioned between two thieves, also crucified there, as further symbolism. We know the rest, or should. What I can guarantee you is he never once made a statement alluding to that he was the one and only Son of God. That's just a twisting of words and history. Nor did he ever cry out to God asking why he had been forsaken. He knew with all certainty the glory of purpose that was about to take place. Only one who had not ascended could ever demonstrate the teaching he was about to impart. His entire purpose of taking on this embodiment was about to come to fruition. And before he gave that final blessing to mankind, he performed a service to one of the thieves hanging near him. He taught the law of forgiveness to that man while hanging there, bleeding in immense pain, because the thief had developed faith, and that rendered service triggered the man's awakening as he died. Can you even fathom? Can you even fathom the greatness required to pull all this off? And yet, he stated very clearly throughout his ministry, "These things I do, ye shall do, and greater things than these shall ye do." A being of his caliber does not make idle statements. Can you understand this? He does not ever make statements without full understanding of their meaning and impact. He had long risen beyond the chatter of superfluous word use of ordinary human life. Every word out of his mouth was filled with definite purpose. Had to be just so. Mathematics. You know my whole body shudders in vibration of gratitude as I write these words, like his love pours on from on high into me. When you tap back into your own stream of inner guidance and truth, you will know exactly of that which I speak. He is always with us, as are all great ones who have graduated before us. So Jesus' last great proof of our true status as beings that are more than just a body was his resurrection, as it has been called. It is not a very accurate description, but it's what has been used a long time. He had told the disciples that he would return in 3 days' time, as that is how long it takes for the consciousness and layers of being to withdraw from its fleshy vehicle. But Jesus' demonstration was not to be withdraw from the body. His example was to raise the temple of flesh that he was steward of into its complete perfection, further fulfilling all he had taught and a lasting record for humanity to follow. His ascension made public. Can there be a greater lasting impression to give mankind? But there is an important period of his life we have skipped over. You probably have heard about it. 40 days and 40 nights he went into the wilderness alone before his meeting of chosen destiny with the Roman court. Let's start with the logistics of this first. He went alone. He didn't carry a giant pack of food and water. Didn't have a secret stockpile in a cave waiting for him. Even in my humble journey, I have experienced what it feels like to be totally sustained and nourished by pure light. Therefore, I have no doubt Jesus had no need of any sustenance from the time he left the Far East. He took 40 days and 40 nights to do something, most likely in pure stillness, doing work, providing a service for the benefit of all mankind. A lasting service of such magnitude, we will only know the fullness of its importance when we too ascend. To explain this, you need to understand that mankind's erring ways and misuse of their creative power of thought, feeling, and the spoken word, all of this collects and condenses. It stays here in the atmosphere of Earth. It causes all the disastrous weather conditions and upheavals on the planet. There is no chaos or randomness in all of creation. It's mathematics of vibration. Now understand that the darkness of human creation and negative vibratory accumulation can intensify to such a degree as to require complete and utter sterilization of a planet. Like disinfecting a contagion in a child's classroom. Dwell upon that just a moment. Its implications I will not put into words. Now just forget it. We don't want to have those visions in our minds. But someone did know what was soon to occur. He could read it in the record of the vibratory nature of this planet. And he alone could do something about it. Divine timing may have played a part. We have heard that when the darkness is greatest, the dawn is soon to come. Stands to reason it may have been all part of some great plan. But free will is the paramount principle. He could have just moved on. He could have just moved on into his next course of universal service. But he didn't. For our benefit. He didn't leave us behind. Find it in your heart and make it a duty to honor that selfless eternal service of our beloved brother Jesus. Thank you.